everyone, my name's Gravy and welcome to my review of the HBO series The Last of Us. I reviewed episode 1 of this. It was great, and I am happy to say episode 2 very much lived up to my expectations that were set by episode 1. Before I get into it any further, spoiler warning. If you don't want to know anything about The Last of Us before you play it or watch it, then stop watching this video. I have some other content that you can go check out. If you haven't seen episode 2, you can watch episode 1, or you can watch my Puss in Boots movie review. I also have a VOD up. I might put more VODs up. We'll see. You can watch any of my other content while you're waiting to either watch or play The Last of Us. Let's just jump into it, okay? The beginning of the episode starts out in Jakarta.
Disturbances in Jakarta, but are advising U.S.
Jakarta. Where is that, Middle East?
It's the capital of Indonesia.
Where a infectious disease expert professor is helping the government work through a cordyceps infection of a person, which is unheard of. One of the grosser scenes in this episode is when the infectious disease expert pulls out some tendrils out of the mouth of the dead person that is infected with cordyceps. It's really gross. Like, don't watch it if you're planning on eating. After that happens, it's basically shows like the beginning stages of the cordyceps infection and why they started bombing. And she even explains there is no medicine, there is no vaccine. You just have to bomb cities in which they're infected because that's the only way we're going to slow infection. That took place in 2003.
Jadi kapan ini terjadinya, Pak?
Kurang lebih 30 jam yang lalu, Bu.
Di mana?
Di pabrik tepung dan gabah di barat kota.
Lahan yang sempurna untuk itu.
Where's the pancake mix?
Oh, was that? Yeah, I was. Sorry.
Y'all want some biscuits?
Dad, you love biscuits.
I do. But I'm on Atkins.
I was thinking we'd make some cookies.
Chocolate chip?
Raisin.
Where's the cake?
Shh.
Come on, man.
I'll get us one tomorrow.
Then we jump back to 2023, where we pick up where we left off on the Ellie, Joel, and Tess story, where they had just escaped from the Federal Guard and spent the night, and Joel and Tess essentially monitored Ellie throughout the entire night because they are worried about her infection. She claims she's still not infected. Tess and Joel are grappling with the fact that she might turn and kill them in the middle of the night.
If she so much as twitches.
Don't.
Tess, at this point, seems to be more on the side of hope that this is something that shows that you can be immune. And you can see that hope build inside of her throughout this episode, but Joel is still not totally buying it. After this conversation they have regarding Ellie, they move on to try to take Ellie to the state house where they're supposed to meet up with the other Fireflies. There's a brief scene in a hotel where you can see that Ellie doesn't know how to swim.
Do you think we have pools in the QC?
No, smart ass. I mean,
I don't know how I was supposed to know that.
And she also just hasn't really been in the outside world yet, and it's pretty clear from that moment. On the roof of the hotel, they see this insanely massive group of infected. They are all laying on the ground, and every time one of them feels something, the entire group essentially sends shockwaves.
They're connected.
More than you know. The fungus also grows underground. Long fibers like wires, some of them stretching over a mile. You step on a patch of cordyceps in one place, and you can wake a dozen infected from somewhere else. Now they know where you are, now they come.
The fungus, the tendrils, and the cordyceps itself, they grow in the ground as well as the bodies, so they can spread essentially miles away from where the bodies are, and if they can't go that way because of this reason, so now they're going to take the short route, which is through the Boston Museum. This is one of the more pivotal scenes in which we are introduced to clickers. They cannot see, but they can hear, and they're terrifying. The prosthetics team on this is like genuinely fantastic. They look exactly like they did in the game. They are just as terrifying as they were in the game, and brutal. Like they're so good. They're fantastic. Joel, Ellie, and Tess have to fight the multiple clickers. And there's about 3 of them. Tess goes off into another room, and you don't really see what's going on with her, and Joel and Ellie have to fight off a clicker on their own. Tess comes in at the end and helps them again. After this encounter, which Ellie was bit again, which freaks Joel out, they start moving towards the State House. They're very close at this point. They get into the State House and everyone's dead. All the Fireflies are dead. It seems that 1 or 2 of them got infected, the infected fought the non-infected, and everyone ended up dying as a result. Joel doesn't seem too upset about it. He just essentially says, we did our job. They're not here. Tess is freaking out. One of them has to have a map. She's looking around. She's trying to find something. She genuinely wants to take Ellie to this medical facility in order for her to help other people make a vaccine. She just doesn't know where to go. So she's trying to look for any signs of where they could have been going. She also, at this point, shows Joel that she had gotten bit by one of the clickers during their encounter in the museum. It's on her neck area. It looks really terrible. And she knows she's going to turn soon. Her hand is already twitching. Joel's obviously upset. I think this is one of the only people he's formed even a semi-emotional connection to within the past 20 years. It's a super emotional moment, and you can see Ellie's already grown attached to Tess. While they're in the State House, after Joel's told this news, one of the infected Fireflies activates. Joel shoots and kills it, but tendrils come up from the ground. That then triggers the horde of infected we saw earlier by the hotel, and they all start running towards the State House, going to attack them.
How many?
All of them. Maybe a minute.
They know that if they don't get out of there now, then they're all going to die. Tess sets up a distraction, pours gasoline all over the floor, sets up grenades, and Joel knows that she's going to buy time by blowing up the State House with her inside of it. Joel takes Ellie. Ellie doesn't want to go, but they leave the State House, and Tess stays. She struggles to light her lighter, and as all of the infected run in, they don't seem to notice her standing by the side, except for one, who begins walking slowly towards her as she continues to try to light her lighter, and he essentially kisses her, and the tendrils in his mouth, like we saw at the beginning of the episode, then go into her mouth as she finally lights the lighter, drops it, and the entire State House blows up. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought we got to learn a bit more information about Ellie. She's obviously not telling everything that she knows. We got to see Joel as a very standoffish person, doesn't seem to trust anyone, which is understandable. We also got to see Hope and Tess and see her die, which is extremely upsetting. My only thing about this episode is, was it completely necessary for the infected to kiss her on the mouth? I just feel like we could have like done that in a different way. Since the tendrils come out of like everywhere, we could have done it in the hands and stuff. I get it. It was a really like impactful moment, but it was so gross. It was gross to watch. I was like, the fact that her last moments are backing out with an infected. Like, that really sucks. That really sucks. The tendrils are really scary. I know I mentioned this in the first episode. I was a little skeptical of the lack of spores, but I think tendrils really amp up the disgusting factor of everything, and I think they bring a new emotion into the mix that wasn't necessarily there in the games. Anna Torv did a great job. I don't believe we'll be seeing her again. I don't think there's any flashbacks or anything, but she did a fantastic job. Just really great.
Say who you can say.
Acting as Tess really brought a different life to the character, and it was just really amazing to watch her. As for next episode, I am very excited. It's going to focus mostly on Bill and Frank, as you could see if you watched the preview. I'm very excited for that. They're great characters in the game. Excited to see them come to life on TV. And I'm also excited because there's been hinting at bloaters and other types of infected, and I'm just really excited to see more of that prosthetic work and see that fear come to life in a physical capacity. That concludes The Last of Us Episode 2 breakdown and review. We're getting it. Next week, obviously, it's going to be Episode 3. We're going to keep discussing. If there's anything from this episode or the prior episode that you would have liked to see more of, or something else you would have wanted me to touch on, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to incorporate any of your ideas into my future reviews of the future episodes, and anything else you want to hear about, either about my opinion of it or just facts about the show. I'm good with either one. But feel free to subscribe to see any other content, and I really hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye!
Here's the thing, Frank. If I feed you, then every bum you talk to about it is gonna show up here looking for a free lunch. And this is not an Arby's.
Well, Arby's didn't have free lunch. It was a restaurant.